This is the CreaseCast.
The Kachuk thing, like, at first, it was a bit much. And by a bit, I mean it's way too much. Because every time a Kachuk is playing hockey on television, which during an 82-game season happens quite often and frequently,
yes,
all a Sportsnet panel will talk about is how they are the descendants of Keith Kachuk and how they have a brother
Whoa, really?
in the league as well. Have you heard about this? There are two Kachucks in the NHL.
No, Jay Leno, I haven't.
Have you heard about this? There's two Kachucks. There's a Matthew, there's a Brady, there's two Kachucks. Have you heard about this? And during the season, it's like too much. It's like I don't fucking care. I know there's like, wow, there are brothers in the show. That's fantastic. It's almost like maybe because like we're from Vancouver, like we've been so accustomed to seeing brothers playing in the NHL that's just like I don't care that there are other brothers in the league because there's like the Stalls, there was like countless
and we're used to them being on the same team, so it's obvious that they're like related. Like it's like one of those things where it's like I mean, obviously, you know, there's not a lot of Kachuk people with the last name Kachuk hanging around, so it's not like
but
it's not like
Stalls,
with
like the Stalls, it was like there's Mark, Jared, Jordan, Eric, and they were all on different teams at one point, and then at one point two of them were on the Carolina Hurricanes. Like it was like, but you didn't hear it every single game. Like you'd hear it in like Edmonton, Vancouver games. Like, oh, the real question is, what's Matthew Kachuk going to be doing come playoff time to McDavid? And it's like, it's enough. We get it. They're brothers. But then you get to playoffs, and you got Brady Kachuk in his Matthew Kachuk Friendship Tour t-shirt, slamming back 4 Bud Lights by the second period, just getting absolutely tuned, and that's all they're talking about. And it's like, I'm fine with this. Now it's appropriate to mention that they're brothers because the event calls for it. It is Matthew Kachuk making a fool out of Vander Kane, scoring a hat trick. He's doing everything he can to embarrass the Edmonton Oilers at home, and he's doing a great job at it. And they show Keith Kachuk in the crowd and his bald head, super proud of his kid. Brady Kachuk partying. Their sister's there too.
Taryn.
Taryn. And do you want to talk about the Kachuk family? That's the time to do it. Totally fine. I don't want to hear it in the regular season, but I want them to be interviewing Brady in between periods when he's like sculling another can of like Bud Light, like it's his 5th of the night, and they say, Brady, what does Matthew need to do to get on the board here in the 3rd period? And he's just completely buckled and needs to like try and formulate a sentence to Darren Pang or whoever it is, and he's just like can't do it. Like that's what I want to see.
Yeah, he just throws on the headset. He's like, okay, here's what we need to do.
Okay. This is what I would do if I was just playing a hockey game, okay?
Yeah, they need to have him just like secretly put on Matthew's gear for one period and have him play as Matthew Kachuk and see if anyone notices. Like, and then Matthew's the one in the crowd, like just guzzling Bud Light. Like
they're just like slowly zooming in. They're like, something's wrong about this picture. What's happening? But anyway, for those who didn't see it, I hope you saw it because we're going to kick this off right away with the first in the Battle of Alberta series because, my God, what an embarrassing game.
What a colossal, like, okay, really fun, but that's because for me, I'm a Canucks fan and I just get to watch these two teams absolutely like just go head to head and who can like dig a hole the fastest.
Okay, so like this makes me like almost like just like upset that you like poor you had to ingest some horrific hot sauce because you lost the bet that the Canucks didn't make playoffs.
Yeah.
And here we have like some of the worst defensive performances we've ever seen in a playoff game. Like I was reminded of like the Pittsburgh Philly series from a few years ago when it was like Pittsburgh putting up 7 goals every single game and Philly would put up like 9 goals, and it was just like trading awful goaltending performances.
Yeah.
This was a 6-9 game. Connor McDavid has 4 points and still loses. Like, that is, oh my God, how embarrassing is that? And then I was just thinking to myself, like,
-1.
man, yeah, like,
He
how
was a
bad?
-1 in a 4-point night. Like,
Yeah,
that tells
there,
you everything.
there goes the
I know
Conn Smythe.
I know plus minus doesn't mean much
No,
in today's NHL, but like, it kind of tells
when
you something. It
when
tells you a
there's
little something.
it tells you a little something when there is no shorthanded goals scored, right? Because that's where the plus minus really gets wonky because it's like 5v5 and shorthanded goals allowed. And it's like, who cares? Or power play
Yeah.
goals or whatever. Um, anyways, back to my point.
There was
The
no
weird
shorthanded like power play goals in this or shorthanded goals.
there
Jesus.
there was a power play goal for Calgary at one
There was
point.
one. There
That's
was
it. It
one
was
power
all
play goal.
5v5.
That is
Like, that's insane.
ridiculous. Oh, good lord. That in itself is almost an accomplishment. Like just in
Yeah,
like,
so
jeez.
McDavid was on ice for full 4 goals, possibly, maybe even more, but still ended up on the negatives. Like, ooh, little bad. But anyway, I was thinking while watching this game, I was like, man, if the Canucks had got in, like, I mean, granted, if they got in, they would have gotten destroyed by Colorado. But
Yeah.
if they, like, say they had like a regular season and got in like LA's spot or like whatever, like, they would have legitimately had a chance to actually go far in this playoffs just based on goaltending performances alone.
Yeah. A healthy Canucks team, and I said this in our group chat, like this is a scorching hot take, and I'm sure every Alberta fans listening to this, if there's any, are gonna lose their mind at me. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care, I don't care here. It's like, yeah, had the Boudreaux Rutherford era Canucks started the season, had they started the season with that group, and had they played like a normal regular season, more or less stayed healthy for the 82 games going into the playoffs. I mean, honestly, just looking at these teams and how bad they were last night, how bad both of them were in the first round, and how bad both they were in the second, and how much they were bailed out by their goalies in the first round, and then how it all fell apart in this game. I can't help but feel like, man, the Canucks probably could have just cakewalked to a conference final, like, no problem, had they finished in third. Like, they could have easily cooked a few of these teams. It also made me kind of mad because I just think back to, God, like, these teams, this is how long, like, it took these teams to get to this particular point of where they could actually even make it into a second round, like Calgary and Edmonton with decently good rosters. If the Canucks, and I hate to keep bringing it up, if the Canucks had like 50% better management for the last 8 years, they would be winning like regular Pacific Division titles right now. Because this is what they have. This is the
I know,
competition. It's
like,
not good.
Yeah, like Connor McDavid, 4 points last night, and they still couldn't get it done. That's tremendously bad, like, performance by a team.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Canucks are flawed and whatever, but man, when was the last time this team gave up 9 goals with 8 of them coming at 5v5? Like, you have to go back to, I think, that Islanders game when they gave up like 11 goals with Eddie Lach in net.
Yeah, probably. Like, it definitely a long enough time. Like, the thing that kept killing them this year in particular was penalty kill. And there was that one game, I think the worst game of the season, at least in terms of like scoring wise, was that one in early November against the Avalanche in Colorado, where they gave up, I think, 9 in that one. They gave up 9. They lost like 9-1. But even then, I think 5 of those were on the power play. Like, I think a lot of those goals came at shorthanded because of how like historically awful that unit was. And like I mean, the Canucks beat the Flames 9-1 this year. Like, they've done it. They literally did it once this year. And it's just like, okay, literally, if this team is playing slightly healthy, like if the Canucks had been healthier, played a better run, like there's no doubt, like there's really little to no doubt that I'm like, oh, they could have easily beaten both these teams. Like, they're not good. And like, yeah, the goaltending was particularly bad last night. And like, to be fair, Jacob Markstrom is usually much better than this. Hell, the first series he was really good. Like, he was almost
on pace with Jake Ottinger, right?
Yeah,
like that was the thing. Jake Ottinger's performance was impressive because he's like some kid standing on his head, and was facing a barrage of shots. Markstrom didn't face the same volume, but he still provided the same like save percentage, goals against average, like those numbers at least.
Yeah, he hit because of how well Ottinger played. Markstrom arguably didn't get enough credit for how well he played on his own. Like the Flames would have been done in 5 or 6 games had it not been for Markstrom in that first round. And so to see so to see this one, him lay a huge egg in this game, like it was like, yeah, definitely wasn't his best night. Like there were a lot of goals that you watch and you're just like, ooh, like I'm like as a goaltender, I'm just watching like, oh, that's not good. Oh, that one's not good either. Like there's like that was definitely a case for him. But at the same time, like we said at the beginning, a 9-6 score can only be blamed on goaltending to a point. Like eventually it's a question of, okay, well, how many high danger chances was your defense giving up in this game? And the answer was many for both teams. Like the amount of just terrible giveaways in your own end was a crazy. And again, like as a Vancouver fan, you're kind of sitting there with the popcorn like, oh, actually I can enjoy this Battle of Alberta a little bit. This is kind of fun. Like
they're playing terribly. This is really entertaining.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, Mike Smith, so it was really Mike Smith apparently had the second highest goals saved above like
above expectation.
Yes, thank you. He had the second highest, obviously first of course being Jake Ottinger. And people were like, I don't understand. He was this good in the first round. Why is he not good now? And my answer to that is because Mike Smith is a lot like the carriage from Cinderella. Like, sure, he might be able to take you places for a few hours, but eventually he's going to turn back into a pumpkin. And he's just going to be a pumpkin for the rest of time. Like that's Mike Smith. Like that's who he is. And then Mikko Koskinen didn't fare much better. It was just some wild stuff.
It was a wild game because there was legitimately like an argument to be made that like the Oilers never should have pulled Mike Smith because Markstrom was like actively like losing the Calgary Flames the game in that second period when he let in 5 goals or whatever it was, 4 goals or something in 10 minutes. Like he legitimately almost cost them the game. And the only reason that Calgary managed to wrestle it back was that Mikko Koskinen was in net, and it was his first start in this entire playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, of course they won by outscoring them. Like, he finished the game with 6 goals against because, it was his first start since the regular season.
Yeah. You don't think that Mike Smith would have just kept, like, letting goals in at kind of a pretty quick, at a similar pace? Like, you think it would have come down to that?
Well, I think it was, like, they were both bound to, like, give up a shit ton of goals, but like his save percentage was like Mike Smith, that is, wasn't that far off of Markstrom's. And there is, in theory, a reality in which Mike Smith pulls it together in the second period. Because remember, those first 2 goals were kind of like a goal that happened tonight with Tampa and Florida, where it was just poor defensive coverage leading to guys wide open in the crease, which led to 2 goals. And then one of the goals was like a terrible deflection that he had no chance on.
Yeah.
Like the first goal that he allowed on Mangiapane was like just a terrible glove save attempt. Like he just had nothing behind it and it like flopped in. The second one was like, there's no chance, like his D screwed him over. And then the third one was like another one where it was like he did his best, but he was just like wasn't there.
Bad giveaway. And it was a terrible giveaway in front of the net, and Brett Ritchie just has to flick a quick far side shot and he's golden. And I think I do think see a scenario like where like you said, maybe like the best thing the Oilers could have done in that situation was actually go, okay, we're gonna put Koskinen in for the rest of the period and then go back to Smith for the second. Like maybe it's just an idea of like, okay, we're going to take the crowd off of him a little bit and then put him back in. I mean, the crowd was on top of him. And I will say I felt a little bad for Mike Smith because obviously Calgarians have a bit of a disliking for Mike Smith after from his time as a Flame, even though as I've talked about with Calgary before, like the only reason the Flames even won a single game in that series against Colorado that one year is because Mike Smith was the only guy that showed up. And it was like, but like Calgarians just don't like him. And so, of course, they're all chanting, "We want Smith," like after Koskinen comes into the game. And it was kind of like, maybe it was a good thing to pull him. But yeah, I can think about the idea of like, maybe like you go back to him in the second period and the things have calmed down a little bit. Maybe you can throw him back in and see how it does. It's a gamble. But at that point, they were down 4-1 already. So it was like, you might as well see what you can do.
Yeah, at that point too, like they were probably just like, it's 5-1. Our guys are gonna fight, but like the chances of us making up a 5 or a 4 goal disadvantage is like really low. And then Jacob Markstrom did like 2016, 2017 Jacob Markstrom things and just like turned into a pumpkin.
Yeah. Hey, this is what happens when you overplay the goalie. Like it's like, Jesus, it was a rough night altogether. I'm gonna be. It's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if, like, in game 2, okay, do both teams literally just go into like a full defensive shell, where they're just like, okay,
like
this
like
last game was
next game's the complete opposite. It is like trap hockey, Barry Trotz
full
style.
on. Yeah, it's just like it's not even Barry Trotz. It's like we're so scared to move the puck up, we're just gonna like waste a bunch of time. It's Guy Boucher hockey, where they're just like, okay, we're not even gonna like. If you've seen that clip, there's a clip on YouTube, I think from Guy Boucher's second season in Tampa, where he essentially like coached that, because he famously coached that. Okay, you get the 1-0 lead, and then we just fully pull it all the way back and sit back. And there's literally a clip of Peter Laviolette's Flyers basically making fun of them for it by not advancing the puck past the blue line and just kind of skating it around, because there was no Lightning player within like 6 feet, within like 10 feet of them. Like they just had all the room in their blue line because they knew the Lightning weren't even going to try to come at them for it. So they were just literally the 2 defensemen. The Laviolette just had his 2 defensemen just like, all right, pass it back and forth in between you guys behind the blue line. They're not going to come at you. And just like, and they wasted like 3 minutes doing this, and the whole like Lightning arena is just booing. Like that's what I think could end up happening in this next game, because I think both teams are going to be so scared to like make any sort of mistake.
It'll just turn into like first to score wins, basically.
A little bit. That's what could happen. Now, if they're fun, they might just keep trying to do this again, which I would be.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
It was incredible. It was really fun to watch. Like that's like you can have. I always say that like you can have good like games where there's great goaltending and it be exciting. Like there's not like some people think that it depends entirely on how many goals go in. I think there's a lot of like cases where like a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game can be super exciting just based on great goaltending. That game was fun because there was none. it was just an absolute gong show from beginning to end, and it was great. Like the crowd was having a good time. You mentioned the Kachucks, like they kept showing the Kachucks like over and over again, and like I will say, I think what made it that part even more funny was all the people today and like yesterday have been like, Brady Tkachuk is being way too much of like a cheerleader for Matthew, and it's like, what is that where we're going? Oh yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like apparently like a bunch of people are like upset about it. I will say I do think it's kind of like a little weird that he's like wearing like Flames merch. Like,
no way. That's awesome. That's like just brotherly love and whatever.
Oh, for sure. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, oh, that is a little odd. Like maybe wear some Senators stuff with it too. Like maybe
no way.
Just wear the hat.
I'd be embarrassed to wear Senators gear if I was.
He's like, the captain. Like,
who cares?
But yeah, like
it's the off season. If like he can wear like Sens gear when like they're actually in the season and it matters, but like it's his off season. Like when I go to work, I don't wear my company branded shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Don't wear CreaseCast merch to work every day. Like
that's true. My white sweater and just get it like covered in like dog stuff and filthy, disgusting dirt.
Yeah.
Totally.
Again, I didn't care enough about it to have a big deal about it, but there are some people who did, and that's just made. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna like the Brady Tkachuk thing even more now, just because I'm mad about it.
Like, and given how we opened the show with me ranting about how I hated the Kachuk discourse that happens during the regular season, and I'm the person going now, like, fuck it, like, keep showing the guy in the Flames gear, like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't owe the Senators anything. If anything, they owe him like a better team to play for.
Yeah. God. Well, yeah, I mean, they're getting better. They're getting a little better. Like Tim Stützle is going to be
They took
something.
some steps this year. They
I
did
think
that.
I'm interested to see if a new owner takes them on a new, it like takes them away from Pierre Dorion and Kosin.
Or
So like,
or
which
takes
is,
them away from Ottawa.
oh God, let's not. Oh God, I hope not. Like at least, or takes them away from Canada. Let's hope they do that, where they actually put them in an arena that's not
Like, that
45
doesn't
minutes out
suck
of
shit.
downtown. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Huh, that didn't work. Yeah,
I can't believe it.
I mean, we'll talk about them later in the show, but one of the other, like, Ottawa getting dunked on a little bit today because also like the Rangers are in the second round, and largely that's due to Mika Zibanejad playing as well as he has. And
Yeah.
and you go back and you look at the fact of, oh, they actually paid for Derek Brassard. Like they actually were the ones that they bought.
They thought they were getting the player in that deal.
Yeah, they paid a second round pick with Zibanejad, and I think they got back Brassard in a 7th, which is like, holy crap. How do you lose? That was like one of Dorion's, I think, first moves as GM. And it's like, oh, they like that. Talk about like a terrible
Aged like
omen.
milk. Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. Just like
Jeez.
setting your legacy up as GM for failure, like
Like
off the get-go.
good Lord. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think you could lose a first trade harder than that one.
No, you certainly could not. Other games that we wanted to cover were, unfortunately, your precious Panthers. RIP. 0-2 in the series at home, which, like, we can talk about this quickly, but I didn't think these were home games for Florida because the entire crowd was fucking Tampa fans.
There weren't that many Tampa fans. Like, come
It was
on.
pretty bad. Every time they showed the crowd, it was like 50-50 split.
I
It
mean,
was not good.
yeah, okay. I don't think there's I don't understand why for the life of me why the Panthers are still in Sunrise. Like
Well,
that's got to play into it slightly, right?
let's
Like
see.
there's got to, because I think Sunrise is very similar to the Ottawa situation where it's like 45 minutes out of downtown Miami. And it's like there's literally and there's literally an arena for them to play in Miami. If they so chose, because the Heat play like right on the waterfront. It's like, okay, like are you really married to this arena? I like the one that you can't even get a naming rights sponsor for is the President's Trophy winners. That's got to tell you something, right?
There's
Like
the PGA Superstore. They got some good stuff in Sunrise, Florida. They've got a pretty big U-Haul. Okay, what else
they
they
got
got?
a big U.
They got
Oh
one.
man.
They got 2
Pull
golf
this up on
courses.
the
3.
video, because God, that sounds hilarious. Not to completely take us on a weird tangent, but did you know that at one point, so the owner of the Panthers was also the owner of the Florida Marlins at the same time back in the day. He also owned created a Waste Management Co. and Blockbuster. And at
Oh,
one point, he was going to build a theme park called Blockbuster Park in near Miami that was going to have the arena for the Panthers and the ballpark for the Marlins in this big old theme park sports and entertainment complex in the middle of Florida. And but he wanted the same like perks that Disney got for Disney World, where they got like their own district and everything and got their own basically like autonomy from government
gotcha.
for it. And the
Didn't work.
state of Florida was not willing to give that to Blockbuster, to the video store people, so it didn't work. But that could have been where the Panthers went. Instead, they ended up in the middle of nowhere.
Dude, that's like so funny. So like on the map, it's like the BB&T Center is like just this giant parking lot with like right next to the highway, and then like across the highway is just like a big swamp.
There's like a Publix,
It's,
yeah. Like, there's
it's
a
like
Publix.
it's the Everglades Wildlife Management Area, so it's just
Yeah.
a big swamp.
It's like, so here's the Panthers arena, and then if you look to your right, there's 12 alligators.
It's like
like
it's like if they have it at a one angle, like you're looking out towards like the ocean, like the beautiful sunset or whatever. But like if you spin the camera around, it's just like a gloomy, miserable swamp filled with dead people and alligators.
Yeah.
That
Did you know
rocks so hard.
another fun fact of Florida? Did you know that if you tie an alligator to a parking meter, you have to put money in it?
I know that because of I think The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Simpsons joke?
It might be. That sounds like something they do. Thank God this was just a warning alligator. The next one won't be
Yeah.
corked. There's some, the Florida's a wonderful place, a magical place. But like,
Yeah,
I mean, again,
unfortunately.
it's really weird how we talk about Florida, like the Panthers specifically, as like this weird, like, oh, this is Florida at its finest, right? Like making fun, like all the Florida memes go to the Panthers, even though, again, Tampa is literally in Florida, but because their team is ran really well and is like in the middle of like downtown arena, has like has owners who care about, who like put in all the time and money into the team, which the Panthers do now, but it took them a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Like it's very funny looking at like the contrasts and how people view the Tampa Bay Lightning and how they view the Florida Panthers, and in a way how they view themselves and how their markets view themselves. Because yeah, you're right. Like there's so many Lightning fans in that building, and I don't think Panthers fans travel particularly well. They did sell out every game this year, I think, in Florida, but like, I mean, yeah, you should when you're a President's Trophy winning team. It's not exactly great that you're getting invaded by the other team every time.
Yeah, and like Tampa isn't that close. You know what I mean? Like it's still a
No, it's
trek.
not.
Like it's a trek to
Florida's
get there.
huge.
Yeah.
Florida
Like
as a state is huge.
it's not like down the block or whatever. It's not like driving from Edmonton to Calgary. It's like no,
No.
it's a fucking trek. You got to take
I
some
think
days
it's like
off work.
I think it's a 4-hour drive.
I believe it.
Unless I'm mistaken. I think if you were
It
literally
looks
to
like
look at like
driving from here to like Prince George or something.
yeah, because like I remember being like, oh, when I was younger, I remember being like my mom took me to Disney World a couple times and being like, oh, can we go see a Panthers game? But like the Panthers were like 4 hours from from like Orlando. And it
Yeah.
was like, okay, oh, never mind. They're actually really far away. Technically, Tampa's really close to Orlando. Is really
Yeah.
close. But even then, I think it's like a relatively a bit of a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, FLA, what is it? The FLA Live Arena or whatever it's called. Yeah,
Isn't it technically I think it's technically the BB&T Center.
so it
The
used to
big
be, but then
yeah,
their
the
sponsorship
BBW
ended.
Center.
Their sponsorship ended. So now if you
Oh,
notice, like
okay.
at the center ice, there's no corporate names or anything. It's because they're literally called FLA Live until they went looking, because they're looking for a new sponsor. And that's what I was saying before, right?
It's just
They're a
like
President's
Arizona's.
Trophy winning team, and they don't have anyone who wants to sponsor the arena. Well, because why would you? It's in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it's a 3-hour and 37-minute drive, and that's without rush hour.
Damn, that's a trek.
Whoops. Yeah, it's really close to Miami, but but even then, it's like, okay, 45 minutes on the freeway on like rush hour, which is when most games happen, right? At like 7, right before after everyone gets off work. Like, yeah, it's got to be difficult. Put them back. They gotta go back to downtown Miami. I don't know what this was.
Man, like, do we want to talk about how, like, do we want to try and manifest a jinx so your boys have a chance? Like, do you want to say, like, I don't think Tampa is going to lose a single game?
Yeah, let's
Like,
do that.
Like, we're going to try and do a repeat of last year because if you guys remember, I
Yes.
famously said after the, what is it? I think they went up 2-0 on the Golden Knights. I said, Colorado looks like a powerhouse. I think they look like they're just not going to lose a single game or get a single challenge this season. And then after saying that, they lost every single game and got eliminated by the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah. It was
So-
very funny. It was extremely funny. Just see
So-
like that. Yeah, we posted it on Twitter the other day because everyone was doing it again.
So for Lachlan's sake, I'm going to try and do that again. I'm going to say,
Thank you.
man, Florida right now is operating on one of the worst power plays. They are 0 for 25 or 26 now.
Yeah.
Through playoffs. Through 8 games of the playoffs, they haven't scored a single power play goal. At some point, they should be able to start clicking on their power play, which was great for them all year. And once it does, then Tampa's in actual trouble because Tampa's getting pretty lucky right now in this series where they're doing well at 5v5 and their power play is actually clicking, but they're basically facing like a team that's like skating on one leg kind of, because their biggest skill right now isn't actually like doing anything for them.
Ooh.
Like as soon as their power play is like operating at league average, then it's like, oh, this is a series again. But right now it's just like it's not. It's like Tampa just looking like, oh yeah, of course they've won 2 back-to-back cups. They know what they're doing, and this is a team that shouldn't be in the playoffs. Like that's how it looks, but it shouldn't be because the one team is just like not firing the way it should be.
Yeah, because if you remember last year's Battle of Florida, like the Panthers got off to a way better start in that series, like scoring wise in particular. Like they still lost the first game of that series and ended up losing, I think, 3 of the first 4. But a lot of that was really due to the goaltending not showing up and like the like being like an Achilles heel. This year, there's not really any excuse there. Bobrovsky hasn't been fantastic, but he hasn't been terrible by any stretch. And I saw a lot of people, I will say I disagreed with a lot of people after game 1 for the Panthers. Like there were a lot of people being like, oh, this is the champions. Like they tuned the Panthers. It's like, well, no, that was a 2-1 game until 5 minutes to go. And then Anthony Cirelli got away with literally like bonking Bobrovsky in the head while Kucherov took a shot. And it was like, and then on a goal that should have been called back, they lost their the Panthers lost their coach's challenge, and then the Lightning scored on another power play, and suddenly it's 4-1. And it was like one of those things. Like, first of all, that should have been called back because like it was one of those things where it's like it was a light brush. Like it wasn't like Cirelli at all was trying to hit him or something, or like trying to like make contact, or like, it wasn't like a flying elbow. It was literally just like he brushed him. But it's enough where like when if your goalie's head has to like move back and then suddenly there's a shot coming, you're not ready for that at that point. And it's like, I don't know why that wasn't called interference like on that review. But yeah, like I didn't agree with a lot of people saying like, oh, like the Lightning completely walked them. Like I thought the Panthers in both games were relatively okay at even strength. I think this game they were much better than the first one. Like they were a little bit passive in that first game, but then the second one today, they put on a good performance. Andrei Vasilevsky was just close game. Andrei Vasilevsky was just incredible for that entire game. Bobrovsky, for his own credit, was really, really good for large stretch for this honestly, the full 60. He was good. And the reason they lost this game was there were 2 reasons. One, apparently Steven Stamkos got away with literally closing his hand on the puck during a power play, and somehow that didn't get called. So just, okay, great.
It's because they had already given them 5 power plays by that point. It was a bit of a, look, guys, we've already given you 5 and you didn't do anything with it. We can't give you another one because he put his hand on the puck. You gotta score. You're running out of shots here.
A little bit, yeah. And like, yeah, the power play has been awful. But then like they did themselves no favors right at the end, where literally like I watched that play and I'm just like, I'm losing my mind as I'm watching this play. Again, like I don't think I've gotten this animated about like one particular play in a game since like the Canucks like earlier this year, like when they did like some of the boneheaded stuff they were doing in like October and November, where like it was like 4 guys. So Kucherov goes behind the net. He's got Gustav Forsling, Canuck legend, on and behind him. That's Forsling's man. He's got him. He has him fully covered from that side of the ice. There's no way. The only way Kucherov is getting out to the front of the net again is if he tries to get a wraparound, which he's not going to in time. So he's in that moment, he's considered covered. But for some reason, Mackenzie Weegar goes, I'm going to run into him because there's only 3 seconds left. What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to go right at him and try and tag team him. Sure enough, Kucherov sees him coming. Like he does the little shoulder check. He sees Ross Colton wide open in the slot. Meanwhile, there are like 3 Panthers forwards. I think it's like Noel Achari. It's Ryan Lomberg, and I'm not sure who the third guy out there was. But all of which can clearly see Ross Colton just wide open in the slot. Bobrovsky doesn't see him because Bobrovsky has to focus on Kucherov, who's over the other shoulder. So he's not looking. He can make a quick check, but he's not going to see Colton from that far side like that until he turns his head to a pass that's already coming. Because again, he thinks in his mind as a goaltender that Uyghur's going to have any guy that's in front of the slot. He's just going to line up on the line and essentially block anything that tries to come out into that danger zone spot. And that's what he's thinking. He's trusting his defenseman on that one. And sure enough, Uyghur goes in for this tag team check that he doesn't need to. Kucherov immediately just throws it to wide open Ross Colton, who has just quick shot, game over with 3 seconds to go. And like, again, maybe this is why I'm not in the NHL and Bobrovsky is, because I can tell you right now, if that's
debatable.
Me and Ned, if I'm Bobrovsky, when they go back to the bench, because I think they took a timeout in that.
They did, yeah.
Seconds, right?
Even though there's no time to do anything.
Yeah,
it was they still took the chance.
Yeah, I am at that point. If I'm Bobrovsky, I am just take that 30 seconds to just full on cuss out Mackenzie Uyghur. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah, way to cost us the game, you moron. That is the dumbest play you could have possibly made with 3 seconds to go. And he blew that game single-handedly. The other 3 Panthers deserve their fair share of the blame too. Lomberg being one of the guys I noted.
Lomberg especially, it was
in no man's land, covering absolutely nobody. Feet
not moving, just completely checked out of the play. I don't need to be involved here.
We're going to get overtime. They totally took their foot off the gas.
You could totally tell they were just well, there's 8 seconds left. There's no way that the leading scorer from last playoffs or the last,
he's not a threat at all.
He's the not guy who
literally scored 2 on us in the previous game. He's not going to do it. Surely he won't do it again.
He's not going to embarrass us. Oh,
that was literally and I think everyone was asking what's more demoralizing, losing an OT or losing there. That is way more demoralizing. That is far harder because at least in an overtime game, you're well, one shot. It sometimes weird ricochet goes in. You're playing a full 60. It happens. There's no excuse for that. There's only a certain amount of time left on the clock before you can get there and reset and get a break. You could have just gone made the defensive decision to not try and be a hero, and you get to OT, and honestly, you probably win because you're playing a way better game than Tampa is at this point, and you're going to get your opportunities. And 2-3 guys cost them put them in a 2-0 hole going back to Tampa Bay, where they are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's a tough lead to give up, right? 2-0 at home. I don't want to count anyone out because playoffs are crazy. Weirder shit happens all the time. But putting yourself in an 0-2 hole at home, not good. Not looking too good for your Cats. Fortunately, we haven't made any kind of food bets based on this one. So you're safe for now.
Yeah, you were comparing them before the show to being their version of the Lightning losing to the Blue Jackets. And I will say I'll fight you on that one because I'm no one thinks the Panthers are actually favorites in this. I don't think anybody. Well, I don't honestly I don't think
they were favorites to start the season, right?
Yes.
The way the season had gone, I think a lot of people wrote off the Lightning to be they're tired. They're, they got a ton of injuries. They're not really a favorite in the playoffs. They're just kind of oh, well, they know how to do it. So, you can't count them out. But I think they were still the underdog in this series.
A little bit.
But yeah, obviously after the Toronto series, I think a lot of people were oh, right, they're actually really good. And it's kind of well, yeah. Did you guys forget?
I mean, yeah, and God, again, to be fair, they didn't look good in that first game against Toronto. So it was and honestly, they haven't necessarily the way they're winning right now, the way Tampa's winning games right now, they're not necessarily winning a lot of games by absolutely flexing their Stanley Cup muscle on a lot of teams. It's mostly just them not hitting the panic button when things aren't going in their direction and just being opportunistic. Like, they haven't been particularly amazing in any of these, like in the Toronto series or the Florida series. They just played well when they needed to and didn't panic when things weren't swinging right in their direction. The play wasn't going in their favor. And that's why they've won both these games in Florida and a lot of the games against the Leafs. This is what happens when you win championships. Like, you kind of figure out, I don't need to I don't need to overcorrect so much. Like, I don't need to work. You suddenly the one good thing if you're for a great team is that when you win that championship, suddenly there's a lot of weight off of you, and suddenly you can play very carefree and be like, I have one cup. I don't need to worry about really rushing in to make the hero play, because you know how to do it. You know how to do it a bunch of times over. It doesn't necessarily always go in your favor, but that's how Tampa's been winning. That's how Tampa's been winning these games. And now they can go into to their home building, which has one of the notoriously very good crowds, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for Florida to come in here. I haven't bought our plastic rats yet for the studio, and now I'm thinking maybe
save your money, because there might not be a lot of time.
I could save my money, but also I still gotta back my boys. I still gotta believe in them a little bit here. I will also say that I think maybe they would be winning more if they had the old Leaping Panther jersey still.
Fair.
This jersey is not great. I have it because it's a Lou jersey, but I don't know. I like the old jerseys better.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same. Look at that Joel Quenneville looking Panther. Come on.
Other series, the one that's happening right now, between Blues and Avalanche, kind of closer than I think a lot of people expected. Jordan Binnington is good again. They're up 1-0 too on the Avs, I believe. Cale Makar, I'm not sure if he's left the game. Maybe he's back in. I think he did. You said he went down late in the first period with a weird leg injury.
He did.
Didn't look serious, but
he did stay on the bench. So at least during the first period, I haven't been watching during the second, so I don't know if maybe he left later.
Looking on the box score, it's showing him on a pair with Devin Taves right now, so I'm assuming he's back and good. But
yeah,
that's probably a pretty huge scare for the Avs, though, if Cale Makar was to go down with injury.
Oh God, yeah.
Big old fat yikes, because that guy is a huge reason why they were as dominant as they were against Nashville. But hey, I was the only guy in our CreaseCast bracket to pick the Blues. I'm still not sold on the Avs. I think they're just I just don't believe in their goaltending or their mental fortitude to get past the second round, because they haven't done it in 5 years.
Yeah. See, honestly, when I saw you pick the Blues, to be completely honest, there was not one part of me was like, oh, that's a bad pick. I honestly thought it was a great pick, because I definitely see a lot of the similar stuff with them. I picked Colorado more so on the I would like to see them get farther. I'd like to see them keep going and kind of figure out round 2. And also also part of me was also I based it off of, honestly, I based it a lot off of whether or not Darcy Kemper was going to be back for game 1, which once I saw that he was going to be in game 1, that's when I decided, okay, I'm picking Colorado. Because if not, I would have also picked St. Louis. And I think a lot of people, I'm surprised a lot of people are kind of sleeping on the Blues here, because because they're clearly a good team when they're getting the goaltending that they require to win. They're a very good hockey team. And like we said at the beginning of the playoffs, I think all 3 of us picked St. Louis to beat Minnesota. And because because the Wild were were a good team, but there was something about the Blues where they were coming in just blazing hot from the regular season. Billy Husso at the time was playing really well. Now Binnington is holding down the fort for them a little bit here. And honestly, I don't think Husso was even particularly awful during the first series. It was yeah, like there's nothing about the Blues, especially like forwards or defense, that looks at where you're like, oh, they're completely overmatched here. Like Colorado's a very, very, very good team, but St.
Mhm.
Louis is one of the few teams that can go completely toe to toe with them.
Yeah, I think we picked the Blues against Minnesota because we were like, oh yeah, they had 9 goal scorers, and as fun and big as the Minnesota Wild are, like you kind of have to bet on like David Perron being a point per game player as a 33-year-old to probably have a good playoff run inside of him. And
Yeah.
I think he has 9 points, or he had 10 points or something
Yeah.
in the series against the Wild. Like
Yeah.
he put up like
I'm
some crazy production for the first round.
Yeah, even like just looking at like the one goal, like the one stat line of this game so far that the Blues are winning. Literally, it's Jordan Kyrou who has with like his 5th goal of the playoffs, from Ryan O'Reilly, who has his fourth assist of the playoffs, and Pavel Buchnevich, who has his 5th assist of the playoffs. Like that tells you a lot
Yeah.
as is. Like Ryan O'Reilly is Ryan O'Reilly. Then you got
Mhm.
Jordan Kyrou, who's a rookie, or like a sophomore, I think at least.
Yeah.
Young enough guy who's already got 5 goals in these playoffs in only 8 games for them,
Something like
for
that,
St.
yeah.
Louis, and Pavel Buchnevich, who they just got from New York, I think, last off season, unless I'm
Mhm.
mistaken. Like, yeah, they know how to build a very strong, like, down the line 1 through line 4 can put points on the board for you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things, like, I always, like, say, like, oh, especially in, like, the last era with the Canucks, there were a lot of things where I'm like, oh, the Canucks can look at any champion and find the wrong thing to point out about them. With the Blues, for me, it was always like, oh, God, they're going to look at the Blues and be like, you know what we need? More old veterans, instead of looking at them being like, hey, they have 4 lines that can all score in
Yeah.
bunches. Like, this is why they won. Like, but like, yeah, you look at them now, like they're arguably, this Blues team is arguably better than the one that won the cup.
Yeah.
And it's like, even, and that's minusing like, Alex Pietrangelo, who was on their blue line the last time.
Mhm.
Like, they've arguably got a better group now with like, I think Torrey Krug
Torrey
on
Krug, yeah.
defense for them. Like, they're a good bunch who can go very far. Colorado, I want to believe, definitely has the ability and the depth to beat them here,
Mhm.
but they've got to trust themselves to get that done, and more importantly, they have to trust Darcy Kemper to get it done. And again, Kemper's been great throughout these playoffs. He's been good. Literally the only knock against him that we kept giving over and over again is that he's a bit of an injury risk. He got weirdly freak accident injured in the last series, and in the first 2 games of this series, he's been really, really good. And they got in that last game, they got production from Josh Manson, a guy who's scoring his first playoff goal ever. Like, that's the kind of moments that you need from that team to be able to beat a team like the Blues. So if they can
Mhm.
keep that up, they can win here. They can
Yeah.
absolutely win. It's just a matter of trusting themselves to get it done, which is where you're right,
Yeah.
which is where your
Which
line of thinking came in.
that's where my doubts came in, because I just think, from based on history, like the last 5 years, they've really struggled to get over the second round against much lesser opponents. Like I don't think when they ran against Vegas, I think maybe not last year, but the year before, like I don't think they necessarily should have lost to them.
Yeah, well, yeah, Grubauer had a particularly rough last 4
Mhm.
games. Like, he was particularly a problem.
Yeah, but like
Um,
the last year, like we were saying, I think in the last episode, like they didn't really have any chance because it was like they were down to their third string goalie when Michael Hutchinson was playing for them, so like they were
yeah,
screwed to begin with.
yeah,
But
like, yeah,
kind of like now, it's like I'm still not sold on their goaltending. Like, and if an injury does take out,
Kemper
like
again.
and then it's like I don't even know who their third stringer is.
Their third, so past Pavel Francouz, I believe, I'm trying to think who it would have been, whoever their Colorado Eagles goalie was. It might be Hunter Miska still. And actually, now that I think about it, it might be a former Vancouver Giant. It might be it's not Trent Miner. Maybe Trent Miner, is that it? Is that who's the Avalanche the Eagles goalie now? There's one of the 2 Giants goaltenders from the other from that the last the year they went to the WHL championship, which was
Oh yeah, it looks
yeah,
like their goaltending depth is, you're right,
David
Trent
Tendek.
Miner. They have Hunter Miska, Trent Miner, and then Justice Enunin.
Yeah, I think Hunter Miska would be the first guy they'd call up. It might be Miner, who was very good for the Giants for quite a while. He was a very good young goaltender.
Possibly, yeah. Because
Um,
they might also try to do we can rely on a rookie with no experience to just like suddenly put up like a stellar performance like Cam Ward or Pyotr Kochetkov in Carolina, right?
or
That can happen.
Cale Makar. Like they have a
Yeah.
history. If there's any team that could pull a random rookie out of their farm's team to go on an absolute run,
Yeah, probably.
it's Colorado. Like they could do that. They could very easily do that.
They've got a pretty good track record of doing that lately.
Yeah, they
But yeah,
do.
otherwise, their
Uh,
series is super tight. I think if any of these second round series are going to go to 7, I would probably say this is the one that for sure is going to go long.
I would agree with that one. I think this is going to be very back and forth. I mean, you're seeing it right now. Like the Blues are leading in shots. Like it's not like Colorado is just absolutely like just
Tuning
like
them.
running like tuning them like they did in the first game. They did totally tune them in the
Oh
first game.
yeah,
Like Jordan Binnington was the only reason that got to
yeah.
OT at
He was the
all.
only reason it was a 1-goal game.
Like, what were I think the shot attempts in overtime, if I'm remembering correctly, Colorado had 14 and St. Louis had 0.
Yeah, they basically held the puck the entire time, and then the second period, I think they were outshot like 24-10 or something like that. Like scoring chances, I think I read were like 37-16 over the full game time. Like it wasn't close. But now here
No.
they are battling back, and they're the ones out shooting Colorado after 2 periods. Like,
Yeah,
that's just the type of experience that they have. They know how to buckle it down.
Yeah.
I think I said it in the last episode. Like, I have a feeling that the Blues are of the mindset that they wanted to erase all of the haterade that came at them after getting bounced by Vancouver and then getting swept by Colorado in consecutive playoff series. So now
they
that
have
they've got
Brandon Saad on the team now. I completely forgot about that. Good lord.
yeah, and he had 20 goals. He had 21, I think.
Yeah, like, and he was an Avalanche last year. He was the year before. Like, Jesus, like, God, like, yeah, there's some very good team. Like, it's a great matchup here in terms of like, especially like even and like the hockey quality is good here too. Like the Blues don't play super like passively. Like they're a good defensive team, but they don't play passive hockey.
Yeah,
The Avalanche are obviously
these two are very well rounded. Like Colorado and St. Louis are very well-rounded teams, both offensively and defensively. Whereas,
arguably the two most well-rounded out of the rest of the playoff group. Like even Tampa, they rely on Vasilevsky a lot to win them games.
For sure. I think like for the most like well-rounded like elite teams, like they're not elite, I don't think. Like St. Louis
I wouldn't call elite.
But
you're right.
But they're well-rounded enough that they can make up for it, and that's kind of like Tampa is too. Like they don't have the speed to compete with like Colorado or Florida really, but through like experience and like the quote unquote like heavy tough playoff hockey style, like they know what to do, and because of that they're up 2-0 in the series. And for the Blues and the Avs, basically whoever wins this is probably going to the finals, I'd say.
I would also say that. Oh, and Binnington just got ran. Like whoever wins this, like looking at like I have to imagine. I would say, I don't know if you would agree with me on this. I think the two teams in this series know that it's their cup final too. Like,
yeah,
I think
that's
they
probably what they're playing
know.
for, right? They're like, whoever wins this series is facing Markstrom or Mike Smith, and
Like,
Markstrom looked horrible in the last game.
Yeah, and unless that series goes, and even like whether or not that series goes to Game 7, like regardless of how long it goes, that series, that both teams, like the Flames and Oilers, are gonna beat each other up for the entire series to the point where whoever wins is gonna be just too gassed to do anything in round 3. So, like, I think both Colorado and the Blues in their own locker room know that, hey, if we win this,
is a serious
we're going
shot.
to the final. Like, yeah. Which and now again, as after jinxing the Avalanche last year, watch as both these as one of these teams, whichever team wins this, gets swept in the conference final.
No, Mike Smith is going to post 4 back-to-back shutouts, and then he's going to lead the Oilers to the finals and win the Conn Smythe. Like
Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
yeah,
Actually,
for sure.
the real Conn Smythe Trophy winner is going to be Ottinger. Off of one series of work, he's going to win the Conn Smythe.
If the Oilers did somehow rally back and Mike Smith posted a bunch of shutouts to get to the finals, like I would absolutely be like, yeah, he probably deserves a Conn Smythe.
Oh God, yeah,
even more than Connor McDavid, because as we already saw, he got 4 points in one night and it wasn't enough for the team to win. So it all comes down to whether or not Mike Smith can stand on his head for that dog shit team. Yeah. Last series, one that I don't know. Maybe you're paying attention to them because you're a big Caniac. I have not been paying attention to either team's playoff run, really. I mean, like I watched the Rangers Pittsburgh series because like that was just kind of like a clusterfuck. But Hurricanes, don't really care for it.
I think they're a team that like, okay, they have a lot of interest. Like obviously there's like it's a funny series in a way because we talked about like some of the characters in that group and now especially how one of them is facing his former team in the Rangers. Like it's an interesting little series. But it's so reliant on 2 very different teams. Like we talked about like how similar the Blues and the Avalanche are in their playing styles and like how they're built. Whereas the Hurricanes and the Rangers arguably couldn't be more the opposite of one another, where the Hurricanes are this like top to bottom built structured, like have a clear plan in place for every line as well, like depth built. Goaltending is where they've decided we're going to kind of just hope the mystery box gets it done a little bit here.
Yeah.
And that whereas the Rangers are goaltending and like 2 really good lines, and then you have like one group and then you have like Ryan Reeves like on the
hell yeah
line, like being the meat and potatoes guy, like the grit
with Tyler Mott, baby.
With Tyler Mott, that's right. Tyler Mott, who God, you can't help but love him. Like they're pointing him out on like the TNT broadcast.
I was gonna say, like, you see him getting shout out like, this is the guy. This is the reason why the 4th line is playing as well as it is. It's like
ESPN giving Tyler Mott airtime. Like good, good for that's hockey right there. Like that's fun. So great. But like Shesterkin had to really like hold the fort down for them in that first game. Like they did their best, and like the fact that the Rangers got here at all is impressive in itself, because I think they said, what was the stat line? They were the first team to come back from 3-1 down, where I'm trying to remember exactly what the stat was, where I think it's something like they didn't lead at any point in the 3 games or something until like the winner or something weird like that. Cause I was listening to it and I was like, oh, you know what it was? Yeah, it was because they hadn't led at any point, I think, in those 3 games and won. And I was like, part of me was like about to go, actually the Canucks won 3 games in overtime. Then I realized, oh, they meant like they hadn't led at any point. The Canucks led game 6 in 94 against Calgary. So there was that. The Hurricanes are a very well-built team, and you kind of saw that there. Where like they didn't really panic too much when the Rangers were up like 1. I think the tying goal went in real late in that game, where it was like, I want to say like last 5 minutes of play they scored. And
I think it was like Jarvis. It was Aho tied it with like 2 minutes left in the game, and then the Rangers had dinner reservations, so Lindgren decided to tip a puck past Shesterkin, and Shesterkin's reaction is so funny on the goal. Did you see him? Like gets deflected past him, and he just like throws his stick down and drops it, and he's just like,
fuck me. Yeah, it's one of those few times where you're like, as like a goaltender, you're like, oh well, there was just nothing I could do there. Like you're like, oh, I tried. Like I put the full effort in. It was just like, yeah, it was that was a very much a type of like, that's the type of performance that the Hurricanes had struggled with against some teams in like their last couple playoff runs. And they just didn't hear, like there was no panic in their game this time around. And that's what won them the day here. And like, I think I really want, my biggest worry with Carolina again is like, can Ronto hold it down for a full series against New York? Because New York does have snipers. Like there's no shortage of like, there's they're top heavy, but they've got a lot of guys who can put the puck in the net like nobody's business. So I am a little worried. I want to know where Freddie Anderson is right now, like a little bit, because I don't think I've heard much. He might be done.
I believe Sarah Sibian had tweeted something saying that like Freddie Anderson was out on the ice for a practice, but wasn't any indication that he'd actually be returning anytime soon. But like if he did, probably my interest in their run like dramatically jumps up, because right now I'm just looking at them like a team that's kind of just like gutting out their run so far. With like, because I don't trust their goaltending at all.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I trust Ronta to a point. Like, he was very good during the regular season, but it's always the case of like, oh God, like a flight, like a little bit of the worry of the injury bug hits him. Like, what are you going to do? But even like, and with him also, like, he's just like, sometimes he has an off night. Like, sometimes he's going to have an off night, and you got to worry about that in a 7-game series. So like, again, like I think the Hurricanes are going to have a little bit of I don't want to say an easier time, but like we talked about Boston giving Carolina a lot of trouble. I think in New York they might be a little bit more like
it'll be a tougher series because they're actually facing a goaltender who can actually be like legit.
Yeah, because they cooked the Bruins in a lot of home games. Like they were running the table.
Yeah, because I mean, now that they're facing a guy who conceivably can, win the Vezina, right? Like facing a Vezina caliber goaltender is a lot different than Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, who did well for what he was doing.
Fine,
for what it's worth, like, he did well.
Yeah, but like it's just like a completely different ball game when you're facing off against one of the better goaltenders in the league. Oh shit! Look at that, 2-0 St. Louis with end of the second period. But yeah, like I feel confident still in my picks. Like, I'm still feeling pretty safe with
I think
Flames.
You picked Carolina.
Yeah, I picked Flames, Tampa, Blues, and Carolina.
Yeah,
and through almost 2 games each, I'm feeling pretty confident in my choices still.
Yeah, I'm feeling less confident, but but to be like, again, I picked my choices off of more who this was the round where I definitely picked a lot more of who I want to win rather than who I think will. With the exception being like Carolina, who I'm like, well, I think Carolina is going to win probably. With like, and even with Colorado, I think like there's definitely a little bit of me like that's like, yeah, I think the Blues could win. Like I see a very real possibility where St. Louis wins. But yeah, I picked the Avalanche, I picked Florida, and I picked Calgary. Again, Calgary, I think Markstrom's going to have a bad game every now and then, like, but he'll be back the next one. Like, I don't think it's going to be as bad from his point of view in the next one. Did we want to quickly eulogize some of the teams that went by the wayside between the last time we recorded? I believe 5 of them. Because when we last recorded, I believe that only Minnesota, Nashville, and Washington had been eliminated. So there's 5 teams that have gone. Do we want to quickly go through and be like, and just what went wrong for them? Very like a little bit of a speed round here.
Sure. Washington, allegedly they were in the playoffs and they got bounced, and they are probably at home polishing their rings going, oh, well.
Actually, like, yeah, you're right. Like, oh, well, but also they did well. Like, they did pretty well considering. Like, there were a few, honestly, a couple bounces here and there their way. There's a good chance they're here rather than Florida. So
their games were fun, and that's all that can be said.
Yes. Let's do Pittsburgh or Boston. Let's do Boston. Old.
Good riddance. Old. Good luck with the rebuild in the post-Bergeron era.
Oh, so okay, that's a question. So, do you think he's retiring? Do you think he's retiring?
Hugging every teammate at the end of the game is about as indicative of a "Hey, see you guys" as it gets.
That's true. Like I mean, we saw that with Shea Weber at the Cup Finals last year, where he was hugging every Canadiens player. Like they knew. Yep. This could be it for him at this point. Like because I think it was Ian McLaren, from Locked On Bruins, who was saying that, look, if Bergeron retires, you should. Yeah, I see that. I see you. You should. They should seriously look at shopping Brad Marchand because he's
Get him
clearly
to
like,
Vancouver, baby.
oh
Pure
god,
chaos.
I would not. No.
Miller for Brad Marchand,
Oh
and
god.
fuck, who's oh god, what's that guy's name?
Who, like some player that
It's
everyone
it's
doesn't
it's
like.
the defenseman that they've been trying, like they've been pitching to get traded for, like Jake DeBrusk or whatever, or not Jake DeBrusk.
He's a forward.
The
Uh,
defenseman.
oh,
What's
I
his
know.
name?
I know. Brandon Carlo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I knew.
trade
I was
those
somewhere there.
trade those two for JT Miller and whatever the fuck else.
Oh, please no. Yeah, Boston honestly is a team I could trust to come back in a few years with Pasternak as the core, like running the core there with like McAvoy, who's still really young. But they're this era's passed for them.
A little bit. Thank God. Couldn't have happened to a
Yay.
better team. Okay. Did we talk? Oh yeah, I guess Toronto hadn't been eliminated yet, had they?
Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked them up big.
Yeah, this was probably their year to do it, but unfortunately, they got the worst draw out of everyone in this playoffs when they got the Tampa Bay Lightning as the 3rd seed to face them as a 2nd seed. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's about as rough as it gets.
Yeah, the current playoff format definitely has its flaws. That's one of them. That's definitely one of them. Although, who knows? Maybe they would have played them anyway. Like even in like the 1 through 8, they might have played them anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
Toronto got like goalied right at the very end. And like honestly, like they put in a great effort. But that being said, it was really funny seeing a lot of like Leafs people being like, "Well, they really tried this time." It's like, oh, God. And then the Sheldon Keefe quote where he's like, "They got so much respect in the handshake line." We're just like, "Oh, buddy,
sweetheart.
Oh, we didn't need this. We didn't need any extra ammo, but thank you."
It's definitely like a double-edged sword, or like. It's like kind of like there's two ways of looking about it, where two things can be true at the same time, where it's like, yep, they got a terrible draw and faced the Tampa Bay Lightning and lost in another game 7. And then on the other hand, you're like, this is the 10th closeout game that they've lost in a row. Like, that's a little suspect, because for as much as you can be like, yeah, this core put on a fucking amazing performance against the defending back-to-back champs, it's still really bizarre that they can't close out series.
Yeah.
After like 5 years straight of getting to the playoffs. Like, that's just a bit awkward and weird.
Yeah. At some point, again, great players can persevere, but at the same time, part of me wonders, like, God, can you ever win with this group? Not because they don't have the skill, but simply because that boogeyman is in the closet, like just
for sure,
rearing its ugly head forever. Like, can you do it?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see with them.
Yeah. Next one would be the LA Kings.
Featuring Troy Stetcher. You were the chosen one.
It should have been you.
It
should have been you.
I will say, like, I will say with the Kings, like watching a lot of those games, it was like, oh, they're definitely like they're on oxygen a little bit here, like in game 6 and 7, like you could see it.
And a part of me too was just like, there's 2 things. One, it's embarrassing that Edmonton needed 7 games to put away the Kings, because Jonathan Quick played well, but he was not good by any stretch.
No,
and they
game
were
7
playing a team. Yeah, like game 7, like he was just like not great. I mean, he was fine, but he was just okay. But you need to be good or more in a playoff series, game 7. But the fact that it took game 7 to take a team that like they're like the Kings' bottom 6 is legitimately an AHL top 6 being bumped up. Like Artur Kaliev is like, he's a depth forward right now, but he's not like, he hasn't really found his game yet. Rasmus Kupari, Quentin Byfield, like all these guys are just like kids trying to still develop their game. Like they're not like really like dependable NHLers yet, and they push this like Oilers team with McDavid to game 7. So that's like if you're a Canucks fan, you're like, oh man, this team that won a cup and rebuilt this team won a cup and rebuilt faster than we rebuilt.
Yeah.
Like 4 years or 5 years, they're going from cup winners to rebuilt and on the up and up again. Like, kudos to Rob Blake for steering that ship through what could have been a really bad era and just getting them right back into it. Like, that's impressive as fuck.
Yeah, those kids, that team is gonna be a force down the road. Like, in a way, I still think they're maybe 2-3 years off from really contending.
Mhm.
But, like, if that's the precursor, they're looking really, really good. It's just a matter of can they, as they shore it up, you're gonna see that strength come out. Watch out in a few years.
For sure. Dallas Stars, Jake Ottinger, very good. Jason Robertson, bit MIA. Joe Pavelski, still very good for an elderly man. That's
Yes, like
about
that.
it.
That's really it. Like Ottinger, oh god, like that was the whole thing. It was the Jake Ottinger show. They almost won it. Miro Heiskanen almost
So
like
close.
single-handedly won it for him, like so close, which would have been very funny.
Yeah.
And also would have pissed everybody off because they were clearly not the better team in that
Yeah.
series. Like they were clearly also another team that was just kind of huffing and puffing. And again, Calgary, it's like, oh my god, it took you 7 games to get this done. Good lord. But yeah, like Ottinger played his ass off. And their future's bright with him. If anything, they should be really trying to quickly retool around him because that's the kind of
Mm,
goaltending you don't get forever. Like that's
yeah.
great. Uh,
Minnesota Wild, they're in for some rough waters. Or actually, I guess we talked about them already because they were
yeah, we
eliminated
talked
by
about them. The
then.
last one is Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah. This is the same argument or same question every year. Do they now rebuild? We
I
heard some stories that Malkin and Letang got lowballed, and Sid the kid wasn't happy. What does
which
this mean?
I mean, if it's true, like, yeah, he kind of has
Good.
a right to be right because
Yeah.
it's like they won you a cup. Like, give them they deserve a blank check forever. They won you 3 cups. Like, just let them have whatever's left of the budget. Like, good, keep them.
Yeah. I mean, like, who cares? Like, I guess like what's Crosby on? He's got like one more year left on his deal,
That would
I
be.
think.
I
So it's
think
just
he.
like
Yeah.
just sign Malkin and Letang to 1 year deals at like big money, and then actually pursue your rebuild. Like,
Oh, you
because
think even like walk away from Crosby? Like
well,
in that
like
case,
get to a point
like
where all three are expiring, and if they still can't do it with whatever they rebuild around, then you say, "All right, we want to rebuild a new core. To do so, you guys, all three of you, need to take serious pay cuts, and then you negotiate that way in bulk instead of signing all three of them to big extensions at lower or $6.5 million or whatever the fuck they think they're going to get, because it's not going
it's
to happen when they're 35 years old, right?
Yeah, and it's not like with Joe Thornton where he was just chasing like where the Sharks every year literally would just give him whatever's left of the cap afterwards.
Yeah,
He would literally
yeah,
go,
I'll
"Okay,
take that.
use the free money to make the team better and I will take what's left," right? Like that was the way the Sharks operated for years, but he was looking to win that one cup. The Penguins have the Malkin and Letang have 3. There's nothing that necessarily needs to keep them in Pittsburgh. They could very easily take their talents elsewhere. Like Vancouver, maybe. I wouldn't mind Malkin on the Canucks, honestly.
He can't skate anymore, but if you could get
Letang, I'll pass, but Malkin, yeah,
if
cool.
you get Malkin on like a 1 year $5 million deal, like give him the Thomas Vanek, you know.
He could be this Canucks era's Matt Sundin, the one that comes in for
Ooh,
the 1 year and just all of a sudden like gives them all
just
the wisdom, like all the infinite wisdom of
just
hockey.
teaches them how to actually win
And
and
this
like
one
not play like shit.
And unlike poor Matt Sundin, Malkin's won cups. So like he's got the champion. He can be like, and these are the 3 rings I've
Yeah.
won. Like, yeah, like that's God. Oh, Podkolzin would like there you give him for Podkolzin. There you go.
Well, there you
Mentor,
go.
have him as a mentor. That would be fantastic. Like
Now
get it done, Jim.
now we're cooking with
Former
gas.
Penguins GM Jim Rutherford, get it done.
Make it happen, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing before we go for the night, we got to touch on this. Uh, WHL draft was today,
Oh yeah.
and with the 268th overall selection, your Vancouver Giants, the home team from the WHL, drafted 2007 born, which first off, can I just 2007 born getting drafted? that
Yeah.
fucking hurts my
God,
soul.
that was the first year I started really getting into hockey. I was 8.
I
Like,
was pulling up.
God.
I'm sure you saw a lot of people were like pulling up like the 2008 like or the WHL draft names, and some of them were just like really funny. All the Cadens and Jadens. And
Yeah.
I pulled up one, and it was like 2008 born, and like I slunk in my chair and was like, Jesus Christ, the people getting fucking drafted now. We're born when I was graduating high school. Like that is not acceptable. But
Yeah.
anyway, Chloe Primerano from North Vancouver, BC, taken as the first female skater to ever be selected in the WHL Bantam draft. Her production was actually really good. Like for the CSSHL, which is like the top tier U15 league in BC. She was tied 30th with like seven other defensemen. I think she was taken with one other person that was kind of in the same production as well. Like he went in like the 5th round, and she went in the 12th or 13th. So kudos to her. Reese Jessup, who is now a scout for the Carolina Hurricanes, tweeted something like before the draft had happened that he was genuinely curious to see if she'd actually get drafted just based on her production stats and relative to her peers. And lo and behold, 7 hours later, she's drafted, making history,
By the
showing up on
hometown team.
by the hometown team, and showing up on the I think it was the intermission broadcast too. I think they had interviewed, or Ron McLean had interviewed her with Kevin Bieksa. Like that rocks super hard. Good for her. She'll be able to appear at the Vancouver Giants training camp this summer. She'll be eligible to play in 5 games this season, but because she'll only be 14 or 13 or something like that. I think 14 or no.
Yeah. If she were
I
like,
think
if she, yeah, something like that.
I
Like
think
it's one of
15
the,
or 16 or something. It's like, but you're only eligible for a certain amount.
you can get
So
exceptional status, but even that's rare
yeah.
for everybody. Like that's rare in general. So like that's,
Yeah,
but
so
like, yeah,
so she's eligible for 5 games, then she can return to the CSSHL's U17 league, and then the following year she'll return to camp again and have a chance to actually play in the regular season for 23-24,
which would
which
be crazy
would be so fucking dope.
and
Congrats to
contested.
her, and
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
getting there and getting drafted. That rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
hell
awesome.
yeah.
I now I will say I have to take some points off because she did say she modeled her game after Duncan Keith, and I was like, oh, well,
Oh,
that's tough. She did all, but she
oh,
also mentioned Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. So I'm like, okay,
that's a good
okay,
mix then, because
good mix, fair
if you
mix.
have the 2012 edge, not that she'd be like have the memory of 2012, given that she's born in 2007, unless as
Oh
a
God.
5-year-old she was like, I want to elbow people in the head like Duncan Keith.
That'd actually be pretty funny. I'd find that funny.
That'd be
If
pretty
that was
cute.
like a
Yeah.
real thing. She's like, yeah, I model my game after like all like the like Adam Foote, like all the dirtiest players. Like that'd
Yeah,
be cool, really funny. But like yeah, she mentioned like all the skill guys and everything. Like it's like yeah, like
yeah,
good on ya. She could be something, and good on like the Giants as well for like not like for looking at and being like looking past the the gender
the gender
barrier
thing.
and being
Yeah,
like and seeing that as like a problem. No, it's not.
hell
They can
no.
play.
Yeah,
If you can
if she
play, you
can
can
skate,
play.
if she can skate and she can play and put up 20 points in an all men's like league, like the CSSHL, which was the top feeder system to the dub, like
All
yeah, like
full
absolutely give
physical
her a shot. Yeah,
and full physical league. Like that's not like there's
yeah,
no hitting. Like she's clearly
yeah,
capable. Give her the chance. Let's go.
yeah, for
Maybe she'll
sure.
make it to the NHL someday.
Ooh,
Um,
maybe.
yeah, we didn't. I don't know if we have time to talk about the Coyotes. Did you want to do that as well, or?
I don't give a shit about the Coyotes. Fuck them.
Yeah, you're right.
And also the story developed as like they don't have the right to place their logo on the center ice, which
Which is
turned out to
high
be
key
not
fun.
true.
It isn't true.
Center ice logo thing apparently was just like making a mountain out of a molehill. Like it was originally like read to be like, oh, they don't have any ability to put logos over top of the ASU at center ice, but that was just like a misinterpretation by Strang and whoever else, or Sean Shapiro. But apparently it's just like not a non-issue, so it was a bit like this doesn't warrant investigation or laughing at, because it's like standard contract writing, so it's not
Oh
really.
yeah. Yeah. So I see what it is. It says per ASU, the Coyotes and ASU logos will be on center ice, but the Coyotes are prohibited from including any of their other normal in-ice branding, as was seen in Gila River Arena, their former home. They're also prevented from digitally covering up the ASU logo on their broadcasts. So that, I don't know, that's kind of funny.
It's funny, but it's like it's a lot different when the story was the Arizona Coyotes cannot use their branding at all in the arena because that just makes them look like a fucking Bush League shit. I mean, it's still Bush League.
They are,
yeah.
but I mean, they're getting a freaking good behavior like clause, which is like so funny.
I'm sure that exists for all contracts with big organizations that like rent arenas and stuff like that, but still it's still very funny that it was made public and whatever. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's still it's still high key funny. Again, like God, they're not gonna make it through that full term. They're gonna be gone.
Once they realize how many players are like, yeah, I'm not signing here.
I'm not playing.
They're gonna be fucked.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing in a college. I'm not here. All right, guys, we got you room and board. It's a dorm. It literally sounds like a National Lampoon movie. Like, oh, we're gonna put you on super probation, you coyote house. Like,
yeah. Anyways, folks, I have been Cody Sievertson. You can follow my work at Cody Sievertson on Twitter. My writings, ahlnucksharvest.com and canucksarmy.com. I should eventually in the next couple of weeks here have my grading of the Abbotsford Canucks season and their players. Don't forget to check us out on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/CreaseCast. Our youtube.com is youtube.com/thecreasecast. Give us a follow, ding that bell, give us comments and stuff too. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like those videos, share them,
find me on
embed them.
Exactly. Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Lach and Cody. You can find my writing work also at Canucks Army. I wrote 2 articles this week about Jim Rutherford talking on Sportsnet 650 and Bruce Boudreau talking Bruce Boudreau also talking. I forget actually. Sorry, the Boudreau one was 650. The Rutherford one was on DFO DFO rundown. So go check those out and more articles on the way. So yeah. All that, and then the Panthers talking about why the Panthers won the cup in a few months. That would be my other article. Yeah.
It's a good call. There's your jinx right there.
There's my anti-jinx because I'm saying that in a way. I'm saying that pretty sarcastically right now.
Yeah. They'll be gone by the time we record next. Until next time, folks. Lovely to have you. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.